20 years later, we go back to the same bunker. Stanley is still at his post. This is one film in particular from Laurel and Hardy that I've been really looking forward to seeing again. It is Blockheads from 1938, and if you see any highlights anywhere, compilation videos, of Laurel and Hardy stuff, a lot of clips from this movie is going to be in it, because this is one of the classics. It really is. Like, all of Laurel and Hardy's movies are brilliant, and I would consider just about everything they've done classics. And this one here, at the beginning we find Laurel and Hardy in the First World War, and the whistles are blown and the soldiers all go up out of the trenches, they attack. But just before this here, the commanding officer tells Stanley to stay behind and watch and protect the bunker. So we go into a sequence in the film where it shows the troops going into war, explosions and whatnot, and then victory happens, armistice, and you see all these here clips of the soldiers returning home victorious. And 20 years later, we go back to the same bunker. Stanley is still at his post, just doing his normal routine, marching back and forward with the rifle over his shoulder, just protecting the bunker. And classic Laurel and Hardy stuff. It's like, he sits down to have his lunch, he opens this massive tin of beans, chucks it over his shoulder, the camera follows the tin, you see this here massive mound of empty tins sitting, and while he's doing that there, you can hear an airplane coming overhead, so Stanley takes to the gun and starts shooting at it. The pilot lands this little plane, comes across, finds Stanley, and he figures out this idiot has been here for 20 years on his own, so he takes him, gets him home again, and he ends up in the newspaper. Soldier stays at his post for 20 years after the war, and just following orders. It sounds completely crazy, but you know what? You could see that sort of thing happening. Maybe not for 20 years, but I reckon if a soldier's told to stay at his post, he's probably going to stay there till someone tells him not to stay there. But then again, common sense would be like, nothing's happened here for 20 odd years. War might be over. Anyway, I digress. We go to present day. Ollie, he's married. It's his 1 year's anniversary, and he's completely henpecked by the wife. And he goes out to sort something for his anniversary, completely forgotten about it. And as he's heading out of the building, he comes across a guy with a newspaper, sees Stanley in the headlines, and goes off to meet him at the old soldiers' home, pretty much. So it just goes into some random territory throughout the whole film. We figure out that his neighbour is a hunter, which is kind of left for a little while, but it comes back to it later on in the film again. But as I say, there's so many sequences in this film that you'll see from highlights of Laurel and Hardy, including the car in the garage sequence where Oliver goes out to get his car to go and meet Stanley, and there's this little plate on the ground where he steps on it, and that opens up the garage door. And when Stanley eventually gets back, like, he's kind of like a character out of time, because this is something that he's never seen before. So Oliver drives up to the garage door, drives over the plate with the first set of tyres, and the door opens, and he drives in, the door closes behind him. So Stanley's like, can I try that? And Oliver's, of course. So he gets the door open, the car reverses out, and there's the window on the door. Oliver's looking through it, and the car's outside at this point, and he shouts out to Stanley, right, okay, just drive over that plate. So Stanley doesn't give time for the door to open, he just plants it Misses the plate completely and drives straight through the door over the top of Oliver. That's very well done. That is very well done for the quality of the film and the age of the film. Some details aren't as crisp as what you would expect in our newer films, but you can see in the little window of the garage there is a head there as the car hits the door, and it just looks perfect. It actually does look like there's someone standing there. So it was probably just something like a mannequin or something just propped up behind the window, but it was just perfect. It really did look like someone was standing there and got hit by the car. But you know, just beautiful. Then we go into the hotel. There's another brilliant sequence where the elevator of the building is broken, out of order sign, and right, we're going to have to walk up all the flights of stairs to the apartment. So as they go off to walk up the flight of stairs, someone comes back, takes the out of order sign off the elevator, and it's working again. So this leads to a sequence of events that gets him from the bottom floor to almost the top where Oliver lives at. They sit down for a break, and of course James Finlayson, I had to try and remember his name for a second there, turns up again. He's in the majority of Laurel and Hardy films. He comes down the stairs and he's got like his little walking stick, and he beats him. They're sitting side by side in the stairs as he comes down behind them, and instead of him saying "please excuse me, did I get past," he takes a stick and whacks it between their two heads. So that starts a whole back and forth between him and Ollie about, you know, what the heck did you do that for, sort of thing, and an argument breaks out, and Oliver's like, we can take us outside and sort it out, and back down all the flights of stairs again for a fight outside the building. And on the way down, of course, Stanley's giving it that there, telling everybody there's going to be a fight, and he gets like everybody rounded up that he can. And during that confrontation outside the building between Ollie and James Finlayson, Ollie ends up getting almost knocked out by complete accident. So, you know, by the time Stanley goes out to see the fight, it's already over. Back up the stairs again, there's another brilliant sequence, and probably the one part of the film I laughed at hard. It really did hurt. There's a guy and his kids outside the apartment playing football in the hallway, and Ollie comes up, trips over the ball, and like he kicks it out of the way and goes to walk off, and the kid calls the father out, and the father's like, get down there and bring that ball back. So Ollie actually kicks the ball down a few flights of stairs. He has to run down again to get the ball. There's a whole, I did miss out something. There's a bit where he met an ex-girlfriend in the street that didn't know he was married, that left a note at Oliver's apartment, and Ollie is intent getting back to the apartment, finding this note before his wife finds it, because as I said earlier, he's completely henpacked. And yes, this bit with the kid and the ball and the father just is, it's just a hold up that he really doesn't need at this point. He needs to get to the apartment to find this note, or the wife's going to kill him, pretty much. So there is a brilliant sequence after he brings the ball back to the father, and there's another kind of back and forth, and Stanley steps in and kind of gives the father just one of these quick little this here, barely even touches him but knocks him out cold. Stanley is full of all this stupid weirdness in all these films. Like, they're completely, by the time they get to the building, sorry, there's one bit with the ball again after Stanley knocks the father out. Ollie takes the ball once more, kicks it down the stairs, and it falls down the gap between the floors of the stairs, from the top of the building right to the bottom. Now there's this guy working behind reception in the building, and this is the one bit out of the entire film that nearly killed me. It was just because he's at his work as just typical 30s attire, like not a hair to place, all slicked back, you know, suit and tie, the whole works on. This American football drops from the top of the building down between all the flights of stairs, hits the bottom, shoots across, and comes off his forehead really hard, and like just all the hair that is slicked back just automatically boom straight forward again. That sequence alone, just that one little sequence, was maybe probably 4 seconds in length. I had to pause the DVD because I was laughing that hard. It was just such a random moment and happened that quick. It was just perfect. But yes, we finally get to the apartment. Oliver gets the note, and there's a back and forth between Oliver's wife and Stanley. And Stanley accidentally says who the note's from, and the wife's already in a bad mood because instead of Oliver doing something romantic for their 1 year anniversary, he's brought his best friend home to get her to make a steak dinner and whatnot. So it's like she walks out, and then the neighbour's wife comes across. In the middle of everything, Stanley accidentally spills this drink over her, and she goes back across their own apartment to get changed. Can't get in, she's lost her key, so she's back into Oliver's apartment. Ollie gets her to go and get some of his wife's clothes, but the wife comes back again, and it's one of these sequences of events that just makes Oliver look really, really guilty. If the wife finds another woman in the apartment out of her clothes, even though she's like in a dressing gown, but you know, how am I going to explain this? The wife's going to kill me, hide, sort of thing. So that leads into the neighbour's husband coming back, the hunter, and I'm just giving you too many details of this film. It's just, you know, once you start describing a Laurel and Hardy film, it's kind of hard not to go scene by scene with it, because it's really hard to review a Laurel and Hardy film without doing it that way. It's just, honestly, this film and the final shot of it alone is such a random shot and such a, you know, it's just, it has to be watched to be appreciated fully. Like, me talking about it here is not going to do it justice in any way, shape or form. So if you do want to check out a really, really good Laurel and Hardy film, check out Blockheads from 1938. And as always, this box set has got colorized versions of nearly all the films have a colorized version on there. But you know what, if you're going to watch Laurel and Hardy for the first time, definitely watch it in the original black and white. They're so much better. I have loved Laurel and Hardy all my life, lifelong fan of Laurel and Hardy. One of my earliest memories is watching these films with my parents and my brothers, and yes, it's a series of films that I can go back to again and again. But I have tried to watch the colorized versions, and for me, it just isn't the same. And that's probably because of my experience growing up with them. But, you know, that's just, I don't know, it's just the sort of films I feel need to be watched in the original black and white. They really are.